Hello everyone, happy feast of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's a wonderful feast for our ministry. It is very significant. In 1993, our foundress, Cynthia Louise Marie Rallihan, founded Mother of God Ministries. In 2003, our Cindy was called to eternal life, uh, called to be with the eternal Father forever. So it's the 9th anniversary of her death. And it's also a time which she herself instituted to renew our consecration to Jesus through Mary and Joseph. And we do that in a very solemn way with beautiful roses after the Mass of the Immaculate Conception. And we renew our consecration on this feast day of our foundation and the death of our foundress, and the great feast of the Immaculate Conception. I am so glad to share that with you. I found an article in Magnificat magazine about how the Immaculate Conception touches all of us. All of us. Remember, Jesus on the cross gave our Blessed Mother, His Holy Mother, to all of us when He said to St. John, who represented us all, "Son, behold your mother." And to Blessed Mother He said, "Woman, behold your son." That's all of us. Well, how does this beautiful mystery of the Immaculate Conception, that Mary, of all the human family, was born without the taint of sin, of original sin. You know what original sin is? The sin of Adam and Eve. We inherited it. We had nothing to do with it. But later on we'll have something to do with it, because we will commit actual sins. And so we have that to do with us. When we sin, when we are unloving to others, we are sinners and need redemption. Well, anyway, Blessed Mother didn't have original sin, because but she was redeemed by Jesus before He actually suffered and died on the cross and worked out our salvation. She was redeemed by Jesus in anticipation of His death and resurrection. So she was untainted with sin. She's the only one in the human race that was untainted with sin. And so she has a special motherly love for us, because she is our mother, mother of all the human race, mother of not only Catholics, but Methodists and Lutheran and Presbyterian and Baptist and Evangelicals, of the non-Christian religions, the great religion of Islam and Hinduism and Shinto and all of those other beautiful religions, non-Christian religions. She's a mother of us all, mother of atheists, mother of unbelievers. She's a mother of the whole human race. Well, how does this mystery of the Immaculate Conception, she who was the only person, the only member of the human family to be immaculate conceived without the stain of original sin, we weren't. We had to enter into our salvation by way of baptism, which washes away original sin, and yet we still had that tendency, that propensity to sin. Well, anyway, let me just read this beautiful explanation of how our Blessed Mother keeps us from sin, even the taint of sin. Listen, this is by Father Marie-Dominiique Philippe, OP, Order of Preachers, a Dominican. He died in 2008. He was a priest, a professor of philosophy and theology. And when I was studying theology, I remember I just loved to read his works and his theology and his books. Okay, I'll use his words and I'll comment with them. In the mystery of the Immaculate Conception, Mary is clearly the prototype of the birth of our divine life. So Mary's a prototype. You know what a prototype is? My uncle, A.W. French, he had prototypes all over his lake house property of big bulldozers and machinery that could lay asphalt. He pioneered the laying of asphalt. It was so hard on the men when they laid the asphalt. He had machines do it like we have today. But all those prototypes were rusting up in his orchard. Those prototypes of what is the modern asphalt laying machinery we have today that doesn't hurt the men the feet if it was so hot when they had to spread it by hand. Well, anyway, those are prototypes. You make a prototype, and then she is a prototype of our divine life, of our life, the life of grace in us. Okay, so she of all of us, but she's one of us. She's a member of the human race. Okay. Our Christian grace draws us directly and efficaciously toward this mystery, which is not foreign to us, the mystery of the Immaculate Conception. It is an essential part of our divine life. Hello, folks, essential part of our divine life. A lot of us, and even myself, not even, but myself, who love our Blessed Mother so much, didn't realize all this. It's so beautiful that the Immaculate Conception wasn't just some honor that God pinned on her, but something that was not only to prepare her to be the mother of Jesus, the mother of God, but to be our mother too. And listen how this mystery of her Immaculate Conception, being conceived without sin, having not any attaint of sin in her soul, in her heart, and in her body, in her life. How is this essential to us, her children, her spiritual children? Let's go. Okay, but the birth of our divine life has already begun. Yes, it's begun in baptism. Every moment of love makes us live by everlasting life. Every time we do an act of love, we get more of this divine life. We open ourselves. God transforms our soul more into Himself, shares His divine life with us. Every act of love we do. Okay, all our charitable impulses will be fully efficacious only to the extent that their starting point is intimately united to this mystery of Mary, to the Immaculate Conception. Oh my goodness, dear folks, that's saying a lot. So all our impulses, all our actions to do good and to love, by which we grow in divine life, is efficacious efficacious, fully efficacious, only to the extent that their starting point is intimately united to this mystery of Mary, the Immaculate Conception. All our efforts and resolutions to grow in divine life, if made outside the Immaculate Heart of Mary, are okay. All our efforts made outside of Mary have nothing to do with her. All these outside of her heart, because we say her heart is our refuge, the refuge of sinners. Here I am, I'm right there. I live in her heart, and we all live in her heart, but it's called to live in her heart. Anyway, this is really important. All our efforts and resolutions to grow in divine love, That's wanting to do good, wanting to love, love of God, love of neighbor. If made outside the Immaculate Heart of Mary, are always tainted with pride, vanity, or selfishness. When it's outside, it's always tainted because we're still sinners. Yes, we got the grace in us, but we still have that. Our minds and hearts. Our mind is clouded, and our hearts are weakened by that sin. We still have that the vulnerability, the wounds of sin. It's all our things we do are tainted with these kinds of things, with pride, vanity, and selfishness, because of the consequences of original sin. Now, Mary didn't have those consequences of original sin, as she was immaculately conceived. Because of the consequences of original sin, these resolutions still imply a certain compromise with evil, a certain all our acts, a certain compromise with evil. Because of the consequences of original sin, these resolutions still imply a certain compromise with evil, a compromise that is perhaps unacknowledged. We don't even acknowledge it. It's very subtle and very hidden, yet just because we don't recognize it, or it's so subtle we don't know about it, it yet real. So all our actions, our love is tainted with pride or vanity or selfishness. Is tainted with sinful sin. Hence, the break with sin is not complete. We're still tainted with that, by that original sin. We're still weakened in our will and blinded in our mind, and our emotions are all over the place. They're not underneath them many times the rule of our mind. So hence, the break with sin is not complete. We're still working. Sin still got us there. We still have some mud on us. We still have some mud, MUD, on us, because sin has tainted us, because we have been afflicted by original sin. Okay, but Mary has it. Now remember that. So what's she going to do about this? We who are still struggling, and even our best intentions is still tainted by some pride or selfishness or vanity or something. Okay, as we still have mud on us, Mary's going to wash us up like a mother does her children and bathe them before they go to bed. The initial impulse is thus somewhat contaminated. This initial impulse to love, to do good, and often for this very reason, it will not last. And so it's weakened too. It's not strong enough. It won't last. It will come to nothing. This impulse, we won't carry it out. On the surface, everything appeared splendid, very pure and beautiful, but there was a hidden crack, something binding us to ourselves and to our pride. So this is very subtle, and Mary sees these things. She's pure. She can see. She's not clouded in her memory or in her mind. Okay, the bird was still tethered by a string. The bird still had a string. He could fly. Well, here after a first flight full of generosity, it fell down again because it was still tethered by the string. We're still tethered by vanity and pride and selfishness and all. So these are the things that hold us back, that contaminate even our most noble acts of love. Okay, because of our original sin. Now Mary was untainted with all this. Now what's she going to do for her children, for us? For the bird that still has the little teeny string holding it back from its flight. If our resolutions to grow in love, and then in parenthesis, what does grow in love mean? Grow in love. grow in love all, and he says all our different Christian resolutions ultimately come down to this one resolution: to grow in love. When we try to be holy, we try to be temperate in our drink and food and all that. It all comes down to love, because we want to please God. We want to please Him. So all the virtues are, the intent of them is to grow in love, in union with God, in union with one another, in love. If all these resolutions are made voluntarily with Mary, now here's the key: we're making these resolutions with Mary, who was untainted by original sin, by relying on her Immaculate Heart, on her love. The love of her Immaculate Heart has no taint of sin. Oh, listen, this is where the crunch is. By relying on her Immaculate Heart and by entrusting them to her. Now she has them. Her Immaculate Heart has them. Our resolutions are hers. Well, they can't have any taint of sin in them, because she is immaculate. She transforms them by God's grace into pure, untainted love. Her love. Okay, made voluntary with Mary by relying on her Immaculate Heart and by entrusting them to her, they will then have an absolutely divine purity, because it's hers. She can't give God anything else but divine, but purity, because she's untainted by sin. They will be truly efficacious. They will just transform us. We say every act of love makes us grow in grace, grow in divine life, grow in union with God, grow in union with all mankind. Mary, in her mystery of the Immaculate Conception, is thus the proper place for every authentic starting point in the growth of love. Do you see? Once we give ourselves to Mary, once we give that initial impulse to love, once we give a life of grace to her, she will keep it untainted by sin, untainted by vanity, untainted by hidden selfishness, all of those things, because she was immaculate conceived. She has no taint of sin. And once she accepts these things and offers them to God, to her Immaculate Heart, to the heart which is love that is untainted by all of those things of sin, our resolution becomes absolutely divine purity. Isn't that marvelous? And oh, it's just great. It's great. So we'll go to Mary, give her your resolutions, ask her help. One of the great saints, Blessed Chaminade, the founder of of a wonderful congregation, the Marianists, said the way to be successful in everything you do is do everything with Mary. And she once we offer it to her, she takes it. She's a mother. She's watching out for us, and she transforms it into a purity and untainted by sin. And then we say every act of love makes us grow in the life of grace, grow in divine life, grow in union with God, grow in a readiness to give ourselves as Jesus did, in humble service to others, even to offering ourselves for their salvation, laying down our lives for their holiness. I am so happy. Happy Immaculate Conception. God bless you all.